I would say a coach that challenges myself, but also challenges, us as players.
If you were to coach the Bears, what would be the first thing you do to try to put Caleb Williams back on path?
Well, it's getting late to do that.
Yeah, I'd say I've been around Cliff. I know what type of guy he is. I know that he loves football. I know that he wants to win.
The Chicago Bears head coaching rumors are getting absolutely insane, so much so that I felt like it was time for us to make a video on this topic. We're just a few days away from the famous Black Monday, where we see a bunch of general managers and head coaches fired, but there's no question about it that one of the most coveted head coaching openings is none other than the Chicago Bears, and the rumors surrounding the potential head coach of the Bears is absolutely insane. So before we get to the content, we are less than 5,000 subscribers away from 1 million subscribers, so make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help us realize a milestone of a lifetime on this channel. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! Today's video is sponsored by one of the most important sponsorships I've ever had, Aura. Have you ever Googled yourself, a family member, or a loved one and been shocked by how much personal information was publicly available? Maybe it was an old address, phone number, or your net worth. What surprised you the most, and how did it make you feel knowing that anyone could see and find it? Which is why I believe Aura is so important. Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people search site that can sell your info to identity thieves, scammers, and more. They monitor your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points like the dark web and public court records to alert you about potential identity theft. And in this particular scenario, their financial fraud protection is so important because you get alerted within minutes when your credit file has been compromised. Like if someone tries to open credit cards and loans in your name, you can instantly lock your Experian file with a tap for fast security. Now, this service is clearly priceless, but I'm not leaving myself and my family vulnerable to data breaches and brokers, and if you don't want to either, then you can go to aura.com/microphone to get a 14-day free trial. That's aura.com/microphone in order to get a 14-day free trial and see if any of your data has been exposed. And thank you, Aura, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? The Chicago Bears have been one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this season. A team that had the unique opportunity to put one of the most transcendent prospects in NFL history in one of the greatest situations in NFL history, and a team that many fans pegged as a potential Super Bowl contender, or at the very minimum, the winner of the NFC North. Alas, that never came to be. The Chicago Bears have lost their last 10 games. They're currently 4-12. They fired their head coach Matt Eberflus in the middle of the season, and they're more known for the embarrassment that they've suffered on national TV as opposed to their great play from their quarterback Caleb Williams. After an offseason that saw this team trade for Keenan Allen and sign DeAndre Swift, draft Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams, after being praised for fleecing the Carolina Panthers in the DJ Moore trade about 2 years ago, this team has reached a brand new low, and now fans are wondering whether or not Ryan Poles would even have a job. When the Chicago Bears fired their head coach Matt Eberflus, I praised them for the decision, primarily because some people were speculating that interim head coach, who recently became the interim offensive coordinator Thomas Brown, would be able to inject some new life in this team. But alas, Thomas Brown's clock management was just as bad as Matt Eberflus's. On top of that, fans are even speculating that the Chicago Bears chose the wrong quarterback, not between Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, but between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. At the time of this video, Jaden Daniels has led the Washington Commanders to an 11-5 record, has completed nearly 70% of his passes, has thrown for 25 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and this is despite having an arguably worse supporting cast than Caleb Williams does. Don't get me wrong, Jaden Daniels has Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. He has Cliff Kingsbury building an offense around him, but apart from that, you can't really compare that to the likes of Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, who isn't being used at all whatsoever. But despite this, Caleb Williams has been sacked a league-leading 67 times in his first season of his career, has completed 62% of his passes, 19 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Personally, I don't think this is Caleb Williams' fault. I mean, there's been moments where we've seen flashes of greatness from this young man, but clearly there was no personnel or coaching staff around him to get the most out of him. And whenever you see a transcendent quarterback that gets sacked 67 times in his first year, you start to worry if Caleb Williams is going to become the next coming of Andrew Luck, who unfortunately had his career tragically cut short because he was sacked so many times and injured so many times that he lost his love for the game of football. So this brings us to, how are we supposed to fix the Bears? Well, Caleb Williams already talked about who he would like to see as a new head coach.
In your experience throughout your football life, what do you value most in a head coach, and if it's a different person, a play caller? What are the things you value in those two positions?
I would say a coach that challenges myself, but also challenges, us as players. Whether it's on the field or character, doesn't matter. Just a coach that challenges us. A disciplined coach, whatever his rules are, or whatever he's going to bring rule-wise, or how he's going to control the team and things like that. Guy that wants to win. Finding ways and helping us players and helping coaches or whatever the case was to just pull out wins throughout the season. Whether it's a tough win or we blow out somebody, just helping us and finding ways to win.
Now, it's important to note that Caleb Williams has some history with one of the prospective coaches in this year's coaching cycle. And that's none other than Cliff Kingsbury, who was an offensive assistant during Caleb Williams' time with the USC Trojans. And Caleb Williams even advocated for him.
Yeah, I'd say I've been around Cliff. I know what type of guy he is. I know that he loves football. I know that he wants to win. He's a competitor. And so many different aspects that I was just speaking about. I've been around him, knowing him, asking him questions and things like that. I think, obviously, if he was here, I'd probably have more to say, but I think he fits a bunch of those qualities that I said.
But the fact of the matter is, there are so many different head coaching candidates in this cycle, and each of them have their own set of strengths and weaknesses. Cliff Kingsbury had the opportunity to potentially become the Bears offensive coordinator this past year, but he was passed up because Matt Eberflus was reportedly intimidated of the fact that a former head coach would be on his coaching staff. But you can't deny that Cliff Kingsbury has done incredible work with Jaden Daniels, has him poised to win Rookie of the Year, and already has prior experience with Kyler Murray, who is also a dual threat QB and is known to be a smaller version of Caleb Williams. But the problem is, just because there's familiarity between a coach and a quarterback doesn't necessarily mean it's the right fit. And when you consider the fact that this is just a huge decision for the Chicago Bears, I mean, nailing the right head coach and also investing in their offensive line could be the difference between winning a Super Bowl and squandering Caleb Williams' rookie scale contract. And well, an individual that recently has been making rounds in potentially becoming the head coach of the Chicago Bears is none other than John Gruden. And if you pay attention, John Gruden has done this type of stuff before. He's already been flirting with the Chicago Bears.
If you were to coach the Bears, what would be the first thing you do to try to put Caleb Williams back on path?
Well, it's getting late to do that.
I'm saying more for next year.
I think the big thing you do is you have a private meeting with the guys you deem as your leaders. The defensive leadership, the offensive leadership, the 8 or 9 Chicago Bears that you're really saying this is the heart and soul of our football team. And we're going to get behind this quarterback, and we got to spread that news downstairs and publicly. But we got to make this guy a great player. He is going to be a hell of a player unless we screw it up. You've had a lot of guys come through here, but this guy's a unique talent. And right now, he needs support, man, and he needs it the most from his coach and the blue chip leaders that we have on the team. Now, I don't know what kind of leadership they have on this Bear football team. I think they're all searching for an identity, but we better figure it out. This is our guy right here, and we got to get him to hand the ball off to Swift, play good defense, win a couple ugly games, but you got to get excited about Caleb Williams and keep putting your arm around this guy and challenging him and helping him get through it.
Now, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with John Gruden, he is probably one of the most well-marketed head coaches in NFL history. This is a guy that has incredible sound bites of him on social media, whether it's from his time as an assistant in the mid-90s, coaching up one of the most dynamic quarterback talents in Randall Cunningham on the Philadelphia Eagles, or if it's him chewing out Chris Sims for not remembering a play call, or just from his time when he wasn't a head coach, when he would bring in prospective quarterback prospects in his Gruden's QB Camp series. The thing that's very unique about John Gruden is he was really able to capitalize off of one one Super Bowl victory that was a little sketchy, and we have our own separate video on that. We'll leave it in the end screen. And he really rode this Super Bowl and one of the most charismatic personalities in all of football to a lot of success. I mean, he won the Super Bowl in 2002. Following that, he made it to the wild card game twice with the Buccaneers, and then he was out of the league in 2008. And throughout the next 10 years, as he was in the broadcast booth, his agency would consistently leak out the fact that he was considering a return to coaching, and he could be had for the right price. Eventually, the Oakland Raiders made him an offer that he just simply couldn't refuse, a 10-year, $100 million contract to rejoin the Las Vegas Raiders. Ironically, this included a no-trade clause, which is kind of funny because the Raiders traded John Gruden to the Buccaneers originally, and for the most part, Gruden's time with the Raiders was a huge mixed bag. If you just take a look strictly at win-loss record, clearly he didn't achieve what he was supposed to achieve. But if you take a look at what he was able to do with Derek Carr, in 2018, Derek Carr had his most successful season as a QB, going from a quarterback that was averaging 61, 64, or 63% completion percentage to a quarterback that threw for over 4,000 passing yards and completed 69% of his passes. He would have 70% of his passes completed the year after and throw for over 4,000 passing yards again, and he would do the same thing in 2020. Now in 2021, he would have his best season to date, but 2021 was also when John Gruden stepped down as a result of the leaked emails. Now, why am I bringing up John Gruden? Well, Tom Pelissero stated that multiple teams are doing homework on John Gruden for potential head coaching vacancies. Now, if John Gruden was to return to coaching, I'd be a little bummed out because he recently discovered TikTok, and man, this is some of the most entertaining content you've ever seen.
You know, there's a lot of people that don't think running backs are very important anymore. Don't pick up their fifth-year option. They're not worthy of a first-round pick. Well, I disagree. And last week proved it. And that's what's got me feeling really nicey. Like Ray Davis of the Buffalo Bills. 20 carries, 87 yards. He did it on Monday Night Football, just a rookie.
He's also part of Barstool now, so he's clearly doing a good job in his post-coaching career, but I could understand why Bears fans would be so enamored with John Gruden joining them as a head coach. Not only did Gruden do the Bears a huge solid in 2018 by trading them Khalil Mack and then burning those 2 first-round draft picks, but he has a clear track record whenever he has an average to above average QB. Say what you want about Derek Carr, but he took his career to brand new heights, and there's no question about it, he extended Derek Carr's career. But at the same time, the Bears aren't the only team that Gruden has flirted with.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed too.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say that John Gruden could potentially be putting his name out there in coaching rumors just to drive up his price to get a huge broadcasting job once again. So that being said, who are the top contenders to potentially become the next head coach of the Chicago Bears? Well, there's no question about it, the number one head coaching candidate that you could potentially pursue in this offseason is none other than Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has been instrumental in taking the Lions offense to new heights. I mean, I don't think you see any other offensive coordinator drawing up passing plays for his offensive linemen. He's 38 years old. He comes from the Dan Campbell coaching tree, and he's had the Detroit Lions as one of the top offenses for the past 2.5 years, and that's not easy to do in the NFL. But let's say Ben Johnson once again demands way too much money, just like he did with the Washington Commanders. Then who would be the best candidate to potentially coach the Bears? It really depends on which path the Bears want to go down. Do they want to get an established head coach that got fired even though you shouldn't have? A coach like Pete Carroll, for instance, comes to mind. I personally don't know if Pete Carroll would be the answer in this particular instance, and although he has a significant amount of energy, I just don't know if he's an attractive candidate, primarily because he's 73 years old, he's a defensive-minded head coach, and typically the trend in the NFL in terms of coaching is to try to hire someone in his late 30s or early 40s who's an offensive-minded coach, but Pete Carroll has had a lot of success in the NFL with the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson, and that could potentially get him this gig. The Bears have already stated that they're interested in interviewing Pete Carroll. Apart from that, Mike Vrabel comes to mind, a coach that I truly don't believe should have been fired by the Tennessee Titans and would probably still be coaching in the NFL if AJ Brown wasn't traded by the Tennessee Titans to the Philadelphia Eagles for peanuts. Vrabel took the Titans to the postseason 3 times in 6 seasons. He comes from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, and he's one of the few individuals that that actually succeeded as an individual that is somewhat correlated to Bill Belichick, primarily because he played for him and didn't coach under him. But apart from that, let's say Ben Johnson asks for way too much money and you want that young hotshot offensive coordinator. My favorite in this instance would be none other than Joe Brady. Brady is currently the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, and his impact on the Buffalo Bills has been significant. Primarily because if you remember last year, the Buffalo Bills struggled mightily under Ken Dorsey. Once they fired Ken Dorsey and integrated James Cook more into the offense, it took the Bills to a brand new level, and it took Stephon Diggs down a few levels. But the Buffalo Bills have been one of the best offensive teams in the NFL, and they've been significantly less dependent on the pass. If you also take a look at Joe Brady's track record, it's really impressive. He was LSU's passing game coordinator in 2019, and if you're going to tell me, Mike, he was carried by Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, that'd be fair. He didn't have the greatest tenure with the Carolina Panthers, but the Buffalo Bills job has shown us that if you give Joe Brady the right weapons, he can make magic happen. He's only 35 years old, he's offensive minded, and I think he'd be a huge upgrade for the Chicago Bears. At the end of the day, I don't think Thomas Brown is the right decision. He's currently winless during his time as interim head coach and hasn't displayed that he has the skills to take the Chicago Bears where they need to go. I think John Gruden is a cute rumor, but I don't believe it at all whatsoever. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Who should the Bears hire as their new head coach? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.